Welcome to Social Security and You, our locally produced program on Social Security topics of interest, made especially for you, the residents of the greater Miami Valley area. I'm Theresa Busher. I'm your host of Social Security and You, and I work for the Social Security Administration. I'm a public affairs specialist, so I'm out in the community. I'm acting as a liaison with groups and professionals and families of all ages and backgrounds talking about Social Security. Don't worry, my own friends and family hit me up about Social Security info all the time too. So I feel like I kind of know what folks are asking about and what's important to you. And no matter what your age, I'm hoping that you will hang with us for today's program because we're going to be covering some of the basics of how to get into Medicare A and B. Now that's the foundation of the Medicare system, and everybody's going to need it at some point in their life. So whether it's for your parents, your grandparents, or for you, because it comes for all of us, we say, hang with us to talk a little bit about how you get into Medicare and get that all-important Medicare coverage that you'll need for your health insurance base down the road. Now, before we kind of really dive in to how you enroll in Medicare A and B, I'm going to give a quick disclaimer because we're recording here in January of 2024, and some of you may be viewing this program later or even as one of our Miami Valley Communications Council archives. So we have to give the disclaimer that things can change. We're in 2024 right now. And we love our partners, our fantastic production crew here at the Miami Valley Communications Council, but we do not endorse or favor any group. We say Social Security loves all equally, as you guys understand. So let's take a moment and look at our little slide that's up here on the screen with us. Social Security, interestingly, is not Medicare per se. We're a cousin, think of it that way, to Medicare. We're both federal agencies. But Social Security gets you in to the Medicare universe. It's like we're kind of going along as two little parallel universes, but you got to come through our Social Security gateway in order to get Medicare coverage. And the base of Medicare coverage, Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B. And you apply and you get that Medicare rolling through us at Social Security. All right, so it's like, think of it this way. We get you going and we get you into Medicare. Now, there's other Medicare options that aren't with us at Social Security, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But you got to kind of start with us to get in to this Medicare world. Now, Medicare itself, with billing and regulation and Medicare plans and all this, that's actually administered through the Centers for Medicare and Medicare Services. It's actually called CMS. All right, and that's part of the Greater Health and Human Services Agency. Social Security, we're kind of a separate entity. But a lot of folks will say to me, I want to get Medicare now. They're like, I'm 62, Theresa. I want to apply for Social Security and I want Medicare at the same time. But it doesn't exactly work like that. In other programs, you may have heard me talk about how Social Security retirement, right, is kind of based around your full retirement age, also called the FRA. That used to be 65, then it went up to 66, and now, for most of us, it is 67 if you were born in 1960 or after. But the Medicare age did not go up. It stays 65. So even for all of us with our full age at 67, we still have to think about Medicare at 65. Now, not at 62, not at 60, 65. Okay, remember, you got to think about 65 with Medicare. We're going to talk about in a moment. That doesn't mean you're going to go on Medicare necessarily at 65 because you might be working or your spouse might be working. So you may not retire till 70. Maybe that's when you go on Medicare. So we're going to cover some of those scenarios. But just to be eligible based on age is 65 with Medicare. Now, the only folks younger than that who can get into the Medicare world are people who are on Social Security disability, otherwise known as SSD or SSDI. And normally you have to be on SSD for 24 months, for 2 years, before you can get into Medicare. The only folks that don't have a wait are people who are diagnosed with ALS, there's no wait, or in end-stage renal disease. So you're on home or hospital dialysis. You're in kidney failure, you don't have to wait the 2 years. Otherwise, normally it's a 2-year wait with SSD, or you have to be 65. Now, we at Social Security get you in to A and B. These are the foundation of the Medicare system. We don't do the billing, but we get you going into this Medicare A and B world. So let's just take a look at what A and B are, though. So Medicare A, I want you to think of the A as standing for admission, because it is hospital insurance, as in you have to be admitted to the hospital for Part A to kick in. So it pays for hospital stays or skilled nursing after a hospital stay. So it doesn't pay for you to be in a nursing home long term. But if I fall and I break something, say I break my hip and I go to rehab, some of that might be covered under Medicare. And it also pays for some home health care and hospice care. It's free. There's no premium as long as you qualify for the base of Social Security or you have 40 Medicare credits. Most folks qualify for free Part A. Even if you don't have that on your own, you get it through a spouse, okay? And if you are on Social Security benefits, Part A, it's free, but it comes joined with Social Security once you're 65 or older. So if I go on Social Security when I'm 67, I would have that free Part A. Once you're 65 and older, A is wrapped around your benefit. You don't pay for it. Yay, it's free because you've already paid through it through your FICA taxes and your work, and it comes as part of a Social Security benefit. Now, Part B, as in boy, I want you to think of that as all your other medical insurance needs. That's also called just medical insurance or supplemental medical insurance. Think of it as paying for everything outside of hospital, is like inpatient hospitalization. So outpatient care, any type of doctor's visits, specialist visits, durable medical equipment like oxygen or a wheelchair, ER visits, urgent care visits for your colonoscopy, your mammogram, all this is under Part B, your lab work. The premium in 2024 is $174.70. That's the base premium, although some income beneficiaries may pay more. That's looked at year by year. 95% of us will pay $174.70 per month, per person, and that comes out of your Social Security benefit check. If you don't get a Social Security check, then you're billed by CMS Medicare. But once you get a Social Security check, my friends, you don't have a choice. The Part B premium, once you go on Medicare, it comes directly out of your Social Security benefit. All right, so we're going to look at that Part A and B and getting you into that world. There are other parts of Medicare, but these are not part of the Social Security universe. So there's other options that folks use in the Medicare market. So maybe you have retiree insurance. You probably are going to need A and B as your base, and then maybe your retiree insurance will wrap around that. Other folks will not have retiree insurance. Maybe you do get some employers give you money towards potentially future retirement, but you're going to have to pick a Medicare market plan. That could be a Part C plan. Those are also known as Medicare Advantage plans. Those function like HMOs with networks or preferred provider networks. And you also have supplemental Medigap policies. These are kind of also called the old-fashioned Medigaps. These are kind of old-fashioned insurance policies where you pay a monthly premium, but you can go to any doctor or hospital or specialist that you want, and then you get a Part D prescription drug program along with that. The Medicare Advantage Part C programs usually have the prescriptions are built into it. The drug coverage is built into your network. If you get a supplemental standalone plan, the Part D plan is a separate drug plan choice. These are not through us at Social Security, but to have any of those options, you have to have Medicare A and B, right? Because I talk to folks who say, well, an Advantage plan's a little different. It works different. You don't have, you don't bill exactly like A and B. Well, all that's true, but you have to have A and B in place. To have an Advantage plan, to have a Medicare supplement plan, you have to have that foundation of A and B. Now, in terms of getting assistance with those other options, should I do a supplemental plan? Should I do an old-fashioned Medigap plan? What drug plan do I use? There is one source that we refer you to, and that is the Ohio Department of Insurance's O-SHIP program. We always laugh, O-SHIP like a boat, pop the P, all right? Actually, every state has a SHIP, a Senior Health Insurance Information Program. So if your loved ones live in South Carolina or Texas or Florida, every state has a SHIP that offers free, unbiased help navigating these other parts of Medicare. Remember, the Social Security world is get you into A and B. as far as if you should do an Advantage plan, what drug plan you should use, what sub plan you should use, we're going to refer you to the Ohio Department of Insurance at insurance.ohio.gov. They have a free hotline. They have free webinars. They've got free resources online and volunteers that are here in our own community. Keep in mind that there's a lot of folks that are brokers in the community as well. They're wonderful. They're great. And they won't charge you anything necessarily for their services either. But there are regulated commissions. And regulated commissions sometimes can mean that brokers may refer you to certain plans, etc. You always have a right to use the Department of Insurance. Even if you're using another group or another broker, the Department of Insurance will look at things for you. They're not on commission. They're neutral to say, I think that is a good decision or not. So such an important and valuable free resource for all of us in the community, all right, to know that you've got that extra set of eyes to help guide you on what other types of Medicare products might be best for you. But let's talk about getting into A and B. That's my world, when to get you into A and B. And it's very important because A and B enrollment is not an open year-to-year thing. Sometimes people will say, I heard there's Medicare enrollments every single year. Well, there are, but that's a lot of times to change up. For most of us, that's to change a drug plan or an Advantage plan. You need to know when to file for A and B as that foundation, because you're going to go into A and B and you're going to set it. You go into A and B and it stays there for the rest of your life. So let's look at some of the options of when you're going to enroll, because it's very important that you're aware of these. All right, we're going to look at the very top of our screen right now. For some of you, it's going to be automatic. If you are already getting a Social Security benefit before the age of 65, so maybe I'm on a widow benefit and I'm, go on widow benefits when I'm 63. Maybe I go on my own retirement when I'm 62. I will automatically go into Medicare A and B when I reach 65. I don't have to do anything. It's all set into motion. But if I'm 65 and I'm not yet on a Social Security benefit, I will have an initial enrollment period. And that means that at 65, I can sign up for Medicare A and B. I can sign up 3 months before for it to start in the month of 65, but I also can sign up in the month I'm 65 and 3 months after. Just by being 65, I can do this. Does that mean everybody has to go on Medicare at 65? It doesn't. You actually have a special enrollment period where if you are 65 or older and you're working and you have insurance at your current work through your actual current job, or your spouse has insurance through their current job, you can delay Medicare until you retire. And then you enroll down the road. So maybe I'm not going to retire till I'm 72. I could stay on my work insurance, and then when I'm 72, I would flip over to Medicare without any type of penalty. Now, there's a yearly catch-up called the General Enrollment Period, where if you have forgotten or you just didn't enroll, and now you need Medicare A and B, you can enroll in January, February, and March of each calendar year. Now, if I ruled the world, I would not call this the General Enrollment Period. I would call this the catch-up penalty period. This is where people get very freaked out and scared with Medicare A and B, because they'll say, I've heard that there's a penalty if you go in late. This is true. But my big but here is, listen, if you're going in at 65, or you're going in when you or your spouse retire from work, you're going from work into Medicare, you're not going to have a penalty. So that's not going to be you. I see very, very few penalties. The penalty situation would happen where I'm 85 years old and I said, I'm not enrolled in Medicare because I don't feel like it. I just don't want to pay for any insurance. I'm healthy as a horse, so I'm not going on Medicare. I'm 65, forget it. I don't need it. I'll enroll when I need it. Well, this is an insurance plan. And so therefore, we don't enroll, for example, in car insurance after we have an accident, correct? Right? It's insurance while we are in certain times of our lives. That's how we pool insurance to make it a valuable tool for all of us. So that's why you're either coming in at 65 or when you retire from work. Now, there's still an opportunity to sign up if you miss those periods. So in my example, if I'm 85 now and all of a sudden I'm sick and I said, oops, no doctor's going to help me. I can't get any insurance now. I got to get on Medicare. I could still sign up when I'm 85, but I'm going to go in this general enrollment period. And I can only sign up January, February, and March of each calendar year, and I would have a penalty assessed. So it's not like you can't sign up down the road, but most of us are not going to want to run that risk of having a penalty, and the coverage will not start then until January, February, March, right? You have to wait. So if I figure this out in July, I'm 85 and I want to go on coverage, I have to wait until the next January to get in. And again, I would be assessed a penalty. So that's not going to happen to you. Most of us are going to go in either when we're 65 or when we retire from work. So let's look at both of those scenarios here for a minute. So again, some of us are going to go on automatically at 65. If we've already been getting a Social Security benefit, again, it could be my retirement as a spouse, I'm getting on my ex-spouse, I'm a widow. If I'm already on Social Security and I'm 65, then I start automatically. I get a Welcome to Medicare packet, and that's going to arrive about 2 months before my 65th birthday. And my Medicare card will be in it. And Medicare starts on the first day of the month that you are 65. Now, look at our second bullet point. If you happen to have a birthday that's on the first of the month, we at Social Security follow actuarial rules, meaning that you would actually be 65 that prior month. Go figure, right? So if my birthday is on January 2nd, 3rd, or any other day in January, I would be considered a Medicare 65 as of January 1. The month that I turn 65, I get my Medicare card. But if my birthday was on January the 1st, I would actually attain 65 in December. So all of you first of the month birthdays, you're actually a month before. A second or other day in the month, it's the month that you're 65. And it is voluntary to be in Medicare B. So if I said I don't want to pay that premium, I could refuse the coverage. I could decline it. Then your Medicare packet shows that you can actually send that back to us, the card, or bring it into a local office is what I recommend. But caution, if you are automatically enrolled in Medicare, normally you need it. If you are declining Part B, the only way you can safely do that is if you or your spouse are working full-time and you have insurance through their active work, not retiree coverage, active work, then you can safely delay Part B, all right? And go on Part B then when you or your spouse retires. But that's really the only time. Most of you, when you get your card in the mail, you need it. So let's talk about the 65, and I'm not on Social Security yet. Then I have what's called an initial enrollment period where I can go on to Medicare just based on age. So I have 3 months before 65, the month of 65, and 3 months after to enroll in Medicare A or B. So do I have to enroll in Medicare when I'm 65? Well, not necessarily. If you, though, are on you kind of have to follow the insurance trail. If you are on insurance that is not based on current work, so it's retiree coverage, like a big one for us. Look at our second bullet point here on the screen, you guys. Big one for us is TRICARE. So I may be working full-time, but if my actual insurance is not through my job, but I'm retired military, it's through TRICARE, or I'm on COBRA, or I'm on the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, or I just haven't had any insurance, you need Medicare when you're 65. You need Part A and Part B. And again, that's what you're going to do online. You can enroll in just Medicare A and B. You can do that entire application online, or you can do that on the phone with us, or walk into an office and we'll make you an appointment to do it on the phone with us. You can file the 3 months before you're 65, and the coverage starts in the month of 65. But you can also start in the month of 65 or that 3 months after, and coverage starts the following month. So again, it's not that everybody has to go on Medicare, right? People will say to me, Theresa, I'm working full-time, but I've got to go on Medicare. I said, that's not true, right? We're not saying you have to go. If you are happy with your insurance at work, you can stay where you are. Hang on, I'll explain how you apply when you retire. Or if you're on your spouse's insurance and they're working, when your spouse retires. But some of you may work for tiny shops. So I've talked to my sister-in-law, worked for a small nonprofit, let's say, in the Columbus area. And when she turned 65, she kept working full-time. But she went on Medicare because she said the Medicare options she had were actually better than the insurance her employer provided. So you really kind of have to look at your options, right? You can stay where you are with work. And if you work for a large employer, you may not want to move. Stay where you are. But if you work for a small employer or your insurance is not very good at work, it might be better off going into the Medicare world. So again, the Department of Insurance can kind of look at those options for you to make that decision, all right? And if you go on Medicare A and B, you don't have to start your Social Security at that time. I might just go on Medicare and then start my Social Security cash benefits when I'm full age at 67 or maybe when I'm 70. So the two don't necessarily line up. Now, what about if I'm working and I just want to file for free Part A? Because I covered a few moments ago that free Part A covers inpatient hospitalization. So it's kind of limited. I mean, it only does true hospital admission, like not an ER or urgent care, that type of thing. It's an inpatient hospital stay. But isn't it nice to know that, heaven forbid, something terrible happens to me, if I have Part A, that would swing in and cover that, right? So here's the thing. If you're 65, look at that bottom bullet point here on our slide. You kind of got to be cautious. If you have traditional employer insurance and you're working, you might just file for free A. I don't want to file for free Part B if I'm still working and I'm paying for my work insurance. I'm paying premiums at work because Part B also has a premium. Free Part A, though, is kind of nice. It's secondary to my employer insurance. But I want to give a caution. If you have a health savings account with a high deductible plan as your insurance at work, you don't want to just sign up for free Part A. Free Part A will stop your HSA contribution. So I'm not talking about those of you who may have flexible spending accounts at work. This is different. If you have a health savings account, you know what I'm talking about. If that's your insurance at work, you contribute to your HSA and your employer contributes to it, don't sign up reflexively for free Part A at 65. Talk to your folks at work. Talk to your employer, all right? Or talk to us at Social Security. We can't make all those decisions for you, but we don't want you to sign up for free Part A and then realize, wow, if I sign up for free Part A and I have a health savings account, it will stop your contributions. You will become unable to contribute to your HSA, and so will your employer be able to contribute. This is an IRS tax issue, my friends. It's not a Social Security rule. It's about tax issues. So talk to a tax professional if you want to, or the folks at work if you're unsure. Look at our bottom bullet point here again. IRS publication 969, which is free at irs.gov, goes a lot more into the health savings account issues and Medicare. But if you have a traditional insurance at work, free Part A is great. If you don't, then talk to your folks at benefits. Don't just reflexively go on until you make sure that you know what you're doing, and talk to your folks at work about options, okay? Once you stop work and you're ready to go on Medicare, if you delay past 65, remember there's no penalty for going from work insurance into Medicare. And you sign up in this special enrollment period when you actually retire. So when you have your health insurance through work or your spouse's work, you don't sign up at 65. Like, again, sometimes folks will say, but I have to put all this into motion at 65. No, you put it into motion when you retire. You actually have 8 months where you can enroll in Part B without any penalty. Part A doesn't ever have a penalty. Okay, so that's free part. But the Part B with the penalty, you can go anytime from active work coverage into Medicare without a penalty. And 8 months you have after stopping work or your spouse stopping work to get in. That's when you apply. Now, a lot of times folks will say, I don't want to wait. I'm going to make sure it's all lined up. So say I'm going to apply, I'm going to retire in this coming December. I want everything to go. I want to finish work in December and my Medicare to go in January. Because most of the time you want them to go back to back. You don't want to be without coverage. Work stops, then you want Medicare to start. So you can sign up to 3 or 4 months ahead. Do this online. Go to our Social Security website. This is the part where you do it through us. Other types of Medicare drug plans, Medicare Advantage plans, you sign up through companies. But you have to be an A and B. You have to enroll through us at Social Security to have that Medicare foundation, to have any other options. So when you're ready to apply, you go through this special enrollment period. You're going to fill out your forms. These are CMS forms. The L564, I'm looking at our bottom bullet point on the slide, is something your employer fills out to say, yes, you or your spouse have been covered on their insurance, and the CMS 40B says that you want your Medicare to start, and you tell us when. And you submit all of this and can upload it completely online. If you're unable to do things online with us, not a problem. Then you can call us and you can set up an appointment and we'll do all of this with you online. But you are going to have to, again, get your duckies in a row. You're going to need to make sure that you talk to your employer. Again, if you're like, say that I'm 70 and I've decided to stop work, I can do everything online, but I am going to have to have proof from my employer that I've had continuous coverage from 65 on, and then you will not have any penalty. Again, sometimes folks will say to us, I know I have to file at 65 for Medicare, and then I have to tell you I don't want it because I'm working. That's not true. You file for Medicare at 65 if you want it. You can do that all online. If you don't want it and you're working full-time, you stay with your work insurance or your spouse's work insurance. Remember, you have 8 months then after you retire to file for Medicare. Again, you can do that all online, no penalty, as long as you're going from work into the Medicare world, and you could do it up to 4 months ahead. All right, we recommend that of when you retire so we can have everything lined up for you. Again, some final thoughts in terms of Medicare planning. We at Social Security get you into this Part A and B world. When it comes to getting assistance on what other types of plans to go into with Medicare, because there's going to be more. A and B is just the base. That's the base you've got to have. But what about drug plans? What about Medicare Advantage plans? Talk to the Ohio Department of Insurance, to OSHIP, free webinars. They can schedule free virtual appointments for you through insurance.gov. It's a fantastic resource for all of us in Ohio. And by the way, there are SHIPs in every state. Google SHIP and your state and you will find information. Medicare.gov is such a great website also to get more information about different types of plans and options. It's a really good starting place for those of you who may be coming up on your Medicare years. Now, the Social Security.gov site, of course, we are the way that you file for your Medicare. And once you go into that Social Security and Medicare world, you want to have both a My Social Security account and a My Medicare account, by the way. The My Social Security account, again, will give you proof of being on Medicare A and B. And this is where you're going to change your address. You can get a replacement Medicare card and a replacement Social Security card, all kinds of amazing information you can do with us online. Now, before I go into contacting us again with our local offices, I want to mention that we have archived Social Security and You programs. Today, we just talked about A and B, but we have programs covering everything from how to get a replacement Social Security card, all the ins and outs of retirement, disability, etc., at your fingertips. So visit the archives of mvcc.video to find more Social Security and You programs. So now as we close out the program, I'm going to go show you some of our local office sites, the addresses, our local websites, and how you can contact us to make appointments. Again, most folks file online, do your My Social Security account, and that's the most important part to start with things. Call us though if you need us. Come visit us at a local office. Call us to make a local appointment. Thanks again for joining us at Social Security and You, and we'll see you again soon.